Hello, this is Jefferson Aldridge from givingisgood.org. Today, my special guest is Norma Underwood. She works with a very interesting nonprofit ministry that does some things that very few people on the planet do. They work with Miracle Connect, and she's on the board, and she's going to tell us a little bit about something that most of us in the ministry world that are aware of ministries and know about a bunch of different types of ministries. We don't hear much about this, and she's going to kind of fill us in on a little bit about what she can and can't say. So there's lots of things that we can talk about in the subject, but we're going to have to leave out some details. So they basically reach out inside the Muslim world and are able to share the gospel with Muslims that are reaching out to them. So, and it's a very careful way, but there are people inside the Muslim world, outside of America, on the other side of the planet, that have questions about Christianity, and they are able to have those discussions with them through Miracle Connect. It's an older ministry, been around since the 90s, founded by a man from Norway, and now they have a Norwegian, a Swedish, and a USA board, and they do some different things, and they do some things that are, when somebody from a faith that maybe in a country that's not legally allowed to ask the questions, but they find their way to somebody that can answer them. They figured out how to get that information to them, to just explain what it is that Christianity is in a simple fashion, not push it on people. It's not, it's not like it is in America where people can stand on the corner and have a bullhorn and tell people about Jesus. That doesn't exist in a lot of parts of the world. I mean, it's just, that's the reality of the world that we live in. So I'm going to turn it over to Norma and let her kind of walk us through what Miracle Connect does, so that I don't say too much and she can say what can be said without saying too much, and just kind of fill us in. Tell us, there's a lot of people that have no idea what can be done or what can't be said. Like a lot of us know, you can't really just go to China and pass out Bibles, right? That's not something you can do. It's a communist country, and they don't like that, So tell us a little bit about Miracle Connect.
Okay, so Miracle Connect, like you said, started in 1997. In the 90s, when the satellites started circling the globe and information started to be broadcast into nations, one of the exciting things that happened is the nations that had been closed to information, such as the ones in North Africa and the Middle East, all of a sudden started having all of this information broadcast into their nations that they could not stop, that they could not control. So the founders of Miracle Connect took advantage of that and said, this is the way for us to get in now. And we must tap into that technology that the Lord has given us to now reach behind those walls, behind those homes where that information was not allowed to be heard. So they started creating television production that was broadcast through satellite TV into the homes of millions of Arabic-speaking Muslims. The difference between a lot of the media ministries that are doing Arabic language television production and broadcasting into these nations is that in Miracle Connect's uniqueness is they're really focusing on reaching the Muslim background family, not the Christians that are already Christians living in those nations. There are many, many programs that are already doing that and providing good quality Christian television and media for them. But the ones who were not yet reached were the Muslim community. So that being said, that became their focus, to do wonderful programming that would allow them to build relationship and love on Muslim people. The Lord loves the Muslim people.
Absolutely.
And they were the ones that were lacking in quality television programs that dealt with practical issues such as family. You know, programs about communicating, about marriage, about raising your children. You know, how do we deal with conflict with a mother-in-law? Those type of practical programs that they wanted to listen to and learn from, daily life practical issues, yet not from a preacher. It is programs that are developed to be interesting and relevant to the Muslim culture. So the people that are in the broadcast side, the script writers, the producers, everybody that's working to do this are Arabic language speaking people, indigenous to the country where they're produced. They understand the culture.
Even not people from here trying to produce stuff that no one understands.
Right. They're not television programs that are dubbed and now in Arabic language. They are using people that are native there that understand the language and the culture, and absolutely also some Muslim background believers who came from Muslim families who now have accepted Christ are also part of the script writers. So they understand how to reach a Muslim person.
Sure.
The wonderful thing through personal experience, because what didn't make sense to them when they were watching Christian television, they were like, well, that doesn't make sense, so they would change the channel. And that's the other thing. A Muslim family will switch the channel if they come across a Christian program.
Yeah.
So the tool that the team at Miracle Connect decided to use is, let's just do good programs that are wholesome, that are sharing principles that are, biblical principles,
Sure.
and yet we're building relationship. We're loving on these people. We're providing things that are helping their families. And through that, of course, there is embedded gospel message in there, which causes the viewer to have questions. Because again, Christ culture is very different from Muslim culture. Yeah. So as they're listening to these programs, radio, TV, they're using social media, YouTube, all of those channels that get media in, not just the satellite television anymore, because now everybody's got a social media device. Sure. That is the way that they are engaging them in conversation. And did you know that just in this last year, we're just now getting the reports of this previous year, and in the last 11 months, more than 82,000 people have communicated with the Miracle Connect team. More than 7,000 have agreed to have continued conversations with the Miracle Connect care members who are having these relationships built through the way that they've contacted them, whether they're curious, they're asking questions, they're saying, tell me more about mercy. What do you mean forgiveness? Mm-hmm. What do you mean there's love that's unconditional? What does that mean? So they're learning and they're wanting to know not only that, but who is this Jesus that I've heard about? Can you tell us more about Jesus? So it is an unprecedented time that the doors have swung open with technology being able to get into the areas that people could not go in safety. And yet the people are now asking for that information. And that is what is occurring.
That's amazing. So you have this programming going into countries that are basically closed, outsiders. It's not like you can't just go to some of these countries. We can't get visas there. They want no part of us being there, usually because we're in conflict or, whatever's going on politically. And they are reaching back out through their own questions and going through these concepts, the concepts that we live in normally, mercy and faith and Jesus. I mean, we grow up in school understanding these things because we're taught, that's part of our family environment or the schools that we go to, well, at least used to be part of the family or the school curriculum. So they're now reaching back out to the Miracle Connect and starting to ask questions and starting to build relationships with the counselors or the people, the staff. So, and then you are building relationships with the people around the world that are building relationships with them digitally. Right?
Digitally and also on the ground. Miracle Connect doesn't just want to produce excellent television programming and content for social media and for the radio, internet radio. They want to engage in conversations. So they are building partners throughout these countries that can help them do the follow-up, that say, hey, X person just called us from this country. Can you reach out to them and start that conversation?
Wow.
And so they are connecting and working in partnership with other groups that are also on the ground and doing this work to answer the questions. Can I share a story
Please.
About that we receive stories every month, every day of people that are telling us how the despair, the hopelessness. There was a recent study that said that the highest rates of depression in the world, this was a world organization that was checking those numbers, the highest rates of depression are in the Middle East. They've lived in violence, very little human rights, just the constant,
nonstop
fighting, poverty,
years
just
and years.
So much destruction, and the enemy is trying to use everything to destroy the families there. This is Muhammad. He said, I was a victim of fear. My father, a drunk, used to beat me and my mother. I couldn't find love and I wanted to die. But I also feared going to hell. I thought this cruel life had come from God. But then I talked to Miracle Connect. I felt peace when I realized God is a good father, filled with love, nothing like my earthly father. God has rescued and redeemed me, and his love for me is unconditional. Everlasting life is in him. Hope. They're asking for hope. They have not felt valued, seen, that they even mattered. And so this lifeline, as Miracle Connect is connecting with them and saying, call us, email us, here's the telephone number, here's the ways that you can contact us. Miracle Connect is stepping in the gap and saying, we are on the front lines, combating despair and hopelessness and just being there for the people that are seeking and asking for hope and help.
And in some of these countries where they're growing up from children through adulthood in pure violence and war and some of that, it just never stops. We don't know what that's like. Imagine if you were always running from bombs and warlords, and I can't. It's not my world. I wasn't in the military. I'm just a business guy. She was sharing a story with me a little bit about what it's like to be a Coptic Christian in Egypt. It's not against the law, right? Can you give people a sense of what that's like?
Well, the Coptic churches are allowed to function as a Christian church.
They're legal.
They're legal. And there is, you can register your church and function as a legally sanctioned church within Egypt. And I'm just speaking about Egypt for one of the countries in the Middle East, over 20 of them. But one of the restrictions is you can have your church, and that can only be for the Christians. So if you are born into the family that is a Christian family, that's where you attend church. But it is illegal for you to share your faith with a Muslim background person. So it becomes very dangerous, even for the Christians that are there, to have conversations with Muslims who are seeking information and asking for information on who this Jesus is. Many of them are having dreams. Many are saying, I need to find somebody to share with me. What are these visions? Why am I having these dreams? Who is this Jesus people are talking about? What is Christianity? And that's where it becomes very dangerous for a believer that is already in Egypt. And so people in groups like Miracle Connect say, we have been called. We are on mission. The Lord has called us to be those people who will answer these questions, who will risk the dangers of eventually meeting face to face with these people that are asking us for help. So they are following what the Lord has asked them to do.
Right. Taking
risks.
That's a big risk.
They know they're taking risks.
Yeah.
But do you know that over 400 billion people, Arabic-speaking people that are Muslim in those nations have a cell phone. They have television, and they're asking for help, and they're asking people, now that they have that communication, they can do it in the privacy of their home, privacy of their car.
Can't stop that.
You can't stop the flow of content. And until the government figures out a way to stop all of that coming in, this is an unprecedented time to continue to support these groups, support Miracle Connect, pray for their safety, that they can continue to do the work that they've been called to do. So many people, in just 1 month, 17,000 people reached out this year. In a 1 month period. All over.
In a bunch of different
in
countries.
many countries. Yeah. And so they've got teams that are responding 24 hours a day on computers, on phones, doing the responses. So we need help to grow the team, to supply them with more technology, computers, laptops, cell phones, because they want to be able to respond to people. Sometimes they may be responding in the middle of the night, because that's when that person finds safety and quiet, that they can go have this conversation.
Time zones too.
Yes. Well, 7 hours different.
Yeah.
So, they're wanting to be there and available for people.
That's amazing. So the types of support that are needed for Miracle Connect, I think everybody gets a sense of, it's a very sensitive subject. Some people don't want to think about it or talk about it or know what to do, and it's not for everybody, And if it's something that's on your heart and you want to figure out how to support Miracle Connect, you can go to miracleconnect.org. It's pretty easy. You can find and get in touch with Norma, and she can talk to you about what is possible and how you can be involved. And they probably have a little bit of a vetting process and some questions that they go through, and then you can see what kind of needs they have,
But everybody here in the USA, I know that sounds like it's such a faraway place. You may not speak Arabic language. We don't know how to do the work, but yet the Lord is calling us to pray for this team, for protection, to pray for discernment, to pray for creativity for the programs that they're producing, for the technology that they need to continue to create excellent television video that is now being used for social media videos as well, to equip the team that's doing the calls, the discipling group. They do discipling programs with those that have committed, and 240 this year out of the 7,000 that were counseled, out of the 80,000 that reached out. 240 have said, I want to follow Christ. So now those are in a discipleship program, learning about Christ. And for the first time ever, they're going to be celebrating Jesus' birth in a month. So imagine that. So it's just, what can we do? We can pray for the team. We can send supplies to the front lines. They are standing in the gap. They are working hard day and night to keep the 24 hours of broadcasting and hope-filled programs and helping these people know you are not alone. You do have somebody to talk to. We will walk with you. They are sending Bibles to some of the people that are able to receive them. They are meeting them on a corner cafe, once they know that this is a true seeker. So they are doing the work that we can't do from over here, but we can send supplies into the troops.
Interesting. Yes. Wow. It never fails. I sit down and I start talking to people about what it is that their ministries and orgs and foundations and nonprofits do. It's it surprises me every time, and it's super, super interesting. So I thank you for coming and telling us about it, and giving, there's going to be somebody that's, they're going to see the interview and they're going to go, wow, I really want to get involved with that. And I hope that there's some people out there that have a heart for it, and it brings prayer, and it brings funds, and it brings the things that you guys need to keep growing what you're doing. Content, I can't imagine running 24 hours, and it's such a specific type of content that can't say too much, that can't say too little, and it's got to be creative. That job is like that, when you just try to think of what it takes to put together that kind of content that people are actually going to want to watch.
Right.
Right. That's tough.
And that is receiving this amount of people reaching out and saying, I want to know more. You've impacted me. I've heard something. I've got questions. Yeah. So we also want to share with you a video of a live testimony that was filmed of a young woman who has been through the counseling at Miracle Connect, who reached out also in a very difficult situation. So we'll share that video with your audience that they can watch. It's a 2-minute. Perfect. And hear straight from her heart how she was impacted by watching the programs and listening to the radio program, and then also talking to somebody at Miracle Connect. And finding hope. Finding hope. Because a lot of these people live in really harsh conditions, right? We cannot take people out of the dark regions that they are in, but we can bring in the light of Jesus Christ into their darkness. It's phenomenal. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate what you do. I feel blessed to learn a little bit about you guys, and to know that it exists, and to know if I run across somebody that is interested, I can hook them up in the right direction. Yes. Very, very needed, very important. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks.